All right, this is really important to talk about. This is a nice, important nuance about fasting, how to make it more effective for getting really, really lean. In fact, there was a period of time when I started fasting and I actually wasn't losing weight. I was actually gaining weight and I wanted to get lean, and that did not work in the least. And so the trap that you may fall into, and a lot of people fall into, is this idea of this eating window. You know, you fast during the day and then you have this 8-hour eating window. Because the eating window, just by calling it an eating window, it kind of makes you feel like you can just spend that 8 hours eating. And it's very easy to go over your calories if you think of the eating window as like this free period to kind of eat what you want. And so in the past, when I did an 8-hour window, my first meal would be at like 1 o'clock. I'd eat a big meal, have another meal at like 5:36, and then I'd have like my last little bit of food at like 8:30. And I was having a really, really, really hard time, even though I was fasting, keeping my calories in a deficit. And so I was actually gaining weight at that period. So that eating window didn't really work for me. And I had this idea that every meal I had to be like this big wholesome meal with protein, carbs, and etc. And that just made me I always felt like I wanted to eat more with that approach. And so the trap that people fall into with fasting is by focusing so much on like getting into this eating window where they can just kind of eat what they want. What you really want to do, and this is also why some people might do better off not fasting quite as long. What you really want to do is you have your calorie target that you want to hit in mind. Maybe it's for guys, maybe it's 2,000 to 2,200. For women, maybe it's 1,400 to 1,600. But you have the calorie target, and then you embed that calorie target into your day of eating to make it as easy to stick to make it as effortless to stick to. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up getting rid of this damn eating window concept because it just didn't work for me. It also was stressful because, you know, maybe I'd be out with friends and then I'd have to rush home to eat at 8:45 before my eating window was over. And so it was this thing that just ended up making fasting a lot harder, depleted willpower, and it made me screw up a lot more. So what I actually recommend doing is so this is what I did. I got rid of the eating window and I kind of shifted my diet to more of that Ori Hofmeckler warrior style, where I kind of just effortlessly fast into the day for the first 4 to 6 hours. My first meal would almost be something just to stave off hunger until dinner. So I wouldn't my first meal wouldn't even be that big. It would be a few 300-400 calories, and then I'd kind of fast, eat a nice big, massive dinner, and then I'd have like my little 500 calories of dessert at night. So the way I set it up was, you know, keep in mind that I wake up at 11, and so I have something light around 4 or 5 p.m., and then I have a big meal 7, 8, and then my nice little end of day dessert whenever I wanted. Maybe it's 11, maybe it's 2 in the morning. That was it. And so I didn't really get obsessed about this eating window and this fasting window. It's just, let me just ride this beautiful wave in the morning. When I wake up, let me just have my coffee, have my sparkling water, ride that beautiful fat burning wave, eat that little light meal to get me to dinner time, and then eat this epic dinner, and then a late night evening meal, or like a late night dessert. And that works so much better than obsessing about this 8-hour window. And so that's a little subtle little kind of strategy you can do. And I often see sometimes people, they want to fast longer. Okay, this is the trap I see people fall into. They get so hooked on this idea of fasting excessively long, or getting in a 16 or 18 hours of fasting, or 19. So they end up getting so set on fasting longer that they end up overeating because of that. So for example, I could skip that. So in the example I presented you, I'll eat something light around 4:35 p.m. and then I'll have a big meal at 7, 8. If I got rid of that 4 or 5 p.m. 300, 400 calorie snack, right now usually I'll do like a collagen protein shake, 20 grams of protein, and a Starbucks Rice Krispie Square and a banana. I'll do something like that. Or sometimes I'll have like a couple of Starbucks egg white bites, something light. If I got rid of that snack and then I kept fasting, I'd be using a lot of extra willpower to get to dinner. I'd get myself a lot more hungry, and then it would be harder to like stop eating when I have this big dinner. I'd want to just get into this binge mindset, and it'd be trickier to stick to. So a lot of people try and fast excessively longer than they need to, when they would do much better off hating their calories if they had a little something light beforehand. So just wanted to kind of give you this really important video about fasting. Now, if you're lean bulking and you want, you got to eat like 2,600, 3,000, 3,200 calories, you can do it a lot. You can just have 2 big meals, huge, big lunch, big dinner, late night dessert. That works better if you're lean bulking. If you're cutting, I recommend, doing 1 big meal, a light meal, and a dessert. That works better for me. So that's the way to do it. That's what works best for me. And again, I remember I was 195 pounds fasting, trying to get fucking really, really lean. And I was 17% body fat. I was getting fatter at that point. And I was just screwing up on it. And I got rid of that damn window. I got rid of the notion that everything's got to be a big meal or whatever, or like a balanced meal. And I just ate something really light for my first meal that just filled me up. Sometimes I'd have I'd do my chocolate bar first, the green and black chocolate bar first, and then I ate a big meal. And it was all about what was going to be easiest to hit my calories, because, yes, I've been lean for the last, or under 8% body fat for the last 5 years, but I actually have a huge appetite. And if I don't have this strict kind of protocol where I fast, eat a light meal, I could be gaining weight. I could be, much heavier. So there you go. Hopefully you found this helpful. So again, don't get so, when it comes down to leanness, more important is hitting your calories. That's more important than the fasting, getting a longer fast. So don't put too much focus on the fast where you end up making it harder than it needs to be. Use the fast to make hitting your calories easier. Now, if you're someone that has a more of a regular style day and you're up at 7, 8 in the morning, then you know what? You might eat something light around 1 p.m. Just something light around 1 p.m., 400 calories. Keep it nice and chill, and then have a little coffee in the afternoon to kind of let you coast. And then a big meal at like 6 o'clock, and then your little dessert at 8 or 9. That would work super well. Now, if you're someone where your appetite actually, you prefer to have a really big meal first, you could have a nice big meal at 1 or 2 p.m. and then something lighter, later in the day. Little protein bar later, and then a dessert. Whatever it is most enjoyable. And I'm kind of putting out the message right now that that sometimes having that chocolate or having that Starbucks Rice Krispie Square, a bag of Pop Chips where it says this is the exact amount of calories, in many cases, having that be a chunk of your day makes it way easier to track your calories. So I actually only eat 1 whole food meal a day. That's my dinner meal. I'll go out, have a big pound of steak, some potatoes. Everything else, I know exactly the calories. Even if I cook a few eggs, it's 70 calories. But when you're doing too many meals and this and that, you're tracking, things are off, food isn't even exact. There was a time when I was eating a ton of meat, and I was tracking the meat wrong. I was weighing the meat cooked, but using the uncooked measurements. And I was eating 240 grams of protein back then. I was getting fatter. So you want to control and make the tracking as easy as it is, and let the fasting help you. Don't make the fasting let it help you hit your calories. Don't make it the number one focus thing. So even if that means fasting shorter, and you know what, for some of you might just want to do a really short fast. Wake up, maybe fast only 3 or 4 hours into the day, and then eat that light meal. Or some of you, maybe some of the women would feel better just having a light breakfast, 300, 400 calories, and then having a little dinner thing or a little lunch thing, and then a bigger dinner. But again, I love fasting. It helps me, but I don't like to fast too long, because then it can create this can become harder actually to stick to your calories. So remember, don't use that eating window as this fucking just eat whatever you want. This is my eating window. Get eat, or you'll end up gaining weight. Yeah. So again, hit the calories, make it really easy to track, and that's the best way to do intermittent fasting. Cheers.